An angry judge and a frustrated Bobo family. That's the takeaway from a hearing this morning in the Holly Bobo case. It was a crowded courtroom, but Mark Piercy, who's accused of having video of Bobo after she disappeared, was a no-show. That left his new attorney, seen here in the bow tie, facing an angry judge. Piercy is already in federal custody on gun charges. It appears a miscommunication between the U.S. Marshal and prosecutors kept him from court. Afterward, a spokesperson said the Bobo family was frustrated by the delay and would like to see the case move forward. A new hearing date is now set for September. A Franklin-based company announced this morning that its computer network was the target of a cyber attack affecting more than 4 million people. Community Health Systems, the largest hospital operator in the country, says non-medical patient data was stolen from their network between April and June. That does include phone numbers and social security numbers. We'll have more on this latest security breach later today at 4, 5, and 6. Drivers are still dealing with navigating around the aftermath of that tanker truck explosion that ruined 2 bridges over I-65. All lanes of the interstate were back open this morning, but traffic was still backed up at times on and off along the Paytonsville Road exit. The overpass is completely closed, but ramps on and off 65 are open. Workers are continuing their round-the-clock vigil, and during the weekend, the older bridge was torn down. The new $46 million bridge will also have to be torn down and rebuilt. TDOT is asking drivers to try to avoid the area as much as possible. The funeral for the driver who died in that crash is scheduled for later this week. Services for Bobby Ray Bobo are Thursday night at 7 p.m. at Heritage Funeral Home in Columbia. Mr. Bobo is survived by 4 sons, 2 grandchildren, and his wife of 34 years. Officials say Bobo spent more than 4 decades as a professional driver and maintained a good record during that time. A lawsuit is in the works over the other tanker truck accident from earlier last week. An environmental group says it plans to sue TriStar Trucking for violating the Federal Clean Water Act. One of TriStar's trucks carrying 8,500 gallons of fuel flipped in the nation's neighborhood Wednesday, exploding and spilling fuel. Containment booms were set up in nearby Richland Creek to keep fuel from spreading, but the Richland Creek Watershed Alliance says those booms aren't stopping at all.
Everybody felt like the creek was saved and prevented from being harmed. I realized that nobody knew the truth, and it was our duty to do that.
The Watershed Alliance says it will file a lawsuit within 2 months unless the federal or state governments take similar legal action first. 80 National Guard troops are being deployed to Ferguson, Missouri this morning, where protesters have been fighting with police for more than a week. Susan McGinnis is there as tensions continue to escalate after the deadly police shooting of an unarmed teenager.
Dozens of National Guard troops are arriving in Ferguson, Missouri. The governor called in the soldiers to restore peace after another night of clashes between protesters and police following the shooting of an unarmed black teenager by a white police officer. A team of lawyers and medical examiners hired by the family of 18-year-old Michael Brown spoke today about the private preliminary autopsy on Brown. It revealed he had been shot 6 times, 4 times in his arm and twice in his head.
Because of the 2 gunshot wounds to the head, indicating that Mr. Brown was bending over as they were coming down, those 2 shots were most likely the last 2 to occur to him.
The state has conducted a separate autopsy but has not released its results, and federal officials have ordered a 3rd examination of Brown's body. People here in Ferguson are frustrated with the investigation into Brown's death. Police are gearing up for the possibility of more violent protests. The first day of school, which was supposed to be today, has been postponed again. There was more chaos in the streets of Ferguson overnight as police officers in riot gear fired tear gas into crowds of protesters. Police say demonstrators threw Molotov cocktails, fired guns, and looted stores. The violence increased over the weekend after police released surveillance video of Brown allegedly stealing a box of cigars from a convenience store just minutes before he was gunned down. Susan McGinnis, CBS News, Ferguson, Missouri.
And on a much lighter note, one of the biggest free concerts of the year is happening today. Jake Owen is back with his 2014 beach party. Crews were busy unloading equipment and setting up yesterday at BMI's Nashville headquarters on Music Row. According to Owen's Twitter account, he'll be performing tonight at 6, rain or shine. This is the 2nd year for the free show. Last year, thousands of fans lined up for blocks to catch that concert.